Here's the button I want. I was trying to find the button I wanted. Hey, good morning, Elisa. How's it go? Elisa. I'm going to get it right, Elisa. You've only been in my class for 2 months now, right? How's it going, folks? So, I hope you starting the week well. Hey, Anna, great to have you with us. I hope you're starting the week well. I'm finally starting to feel better. I mean, I've been getting a little better each week and so forth, but I kind of feel like I've crossed over into the I feel better. There's some remnant there, but you know what? I'm happy to get what I can get. All right. And hey, this is our we're pretty much halfway through the semester now. We have spring break next week, so that'll be fun. And then, second half of the semester. Today we're doing module 7, which is, there's 12 modules, so that's halfway through, right? So that's kind of exciting. On the other hand, I also know that it takes some discipline and intestinal fortitude to stay focused, especially the second half of the semester. I totally get it. So I appreciate you that are here and that are watching after the fact to stay up on the course. Fantastic. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Foundations of Capitalism. So we've actually, through the whole first of this course, we've already been kind of introducing, and hey, you know what? Let me turn that off. The foundations of capitalism, right? There's actually 5 ingredients of capitalism that I want to make sure you know. The first 4 ingredients we've already gone over, and the 5th ingredient we go over today, okay? So what are these 5 ingredients? Well, let's go ahead and make myself, kind of make this a little better so that we can see it better. The first ingredient that we talked about was the profit motive. Now, I know you're kind of like, when did we talk about the profit motive? It was way back. Remember, the question was, well, now, hold on. If we can't tell people what to do for work based on tradition, Schiffbauer is German for shipbuilder. And so it was traditional for my family to be shipbuilders, remember? Or we can't force them, enslave them, indentured servitude, that sort of thing. If we can't force people to do what we need them to do, how are we going to get them to do anything, especially the dirty jobs? Remember, this was a while back, but how are we going to get them to do the dirty jobs? And the answer was, people are all driven by the profit motive. The idea, it's a moral concept that personal gain is good. The idea that each man or woman not only may, but should constantly, that's the word, constantly strive to better their material lot. Put another way, the profit motive says it's never enough. We are always willing, for the most part, we being all-inclusive, and yeah, sure, there are outliers, but we're talking in generalities. We are always willing to work harder, smarter, better to better our material circumstances, our financial circumstances. In other words, we're willing to work to get money. That's what it comes down to. You're going to school to get more money. You work to get more money. You do all kinds of things to get more money. And the profit motive says, this is an ever consistent state. You are never not driven to earn more money. You always want more money. Always. Even the very, very rich are trying to find ways to get more money and more power. So it's always with us, the profit motive. Okay, So that's the profit motive. And then we talked about free markets, okay? The economic system based on the principle of supply and demand with little to no government intervention, driven by the voluntary exchange of goods and services, each party seeking maximum returns. Again, we talked about this a while back. I gave you the example of my father in his bed and breakfast saying, listen, I need somebody to make my beds in this bed and breakfast. You need somebody to give you money and a ski pass. So I'll tell you what, you show up and make the beds and I'll give you money and a ski pass. This is free market. No one can force you to do a certain kind of job or force you to pay a certain amount. You are free to charge whatever you want. If you charge too much, you may not make sales. If you charge too little, you may not make profit. You're going to find the equilibrium. You are free to not pay for something if you feel it's too much or it's just free commerce, right? Free and open commerce. My wife and I, we've been doing some shopping lately just because we're getting ready for an itty bitty little trip. And it's kind of interesting, we look at these things and we go, oh, that's $90. Well, for what I'm getting, $90 is good. But then we pick up something else and it's $90 and we're like, there's no way this is worth $90. We can make those decisions. People can charge what they want and make the sale or not make the sale. Free market system. Okay. And then we talked about private wealth or capital. This is what we talked about when we talked about the Protestant work ethic. Remember, if you're going to work hard and not spend the money and live a frugal, ascetic lifestyle and so forth, you're going to make a lot of money. What are you going to do with this money? You're going to invest it. That's what you are commanded to do. Invest the money. Now, quick, guys, real quick, I want to point something out. So I'm going to come up here for a moment. There's a reason the system is called capitalism. Capital is the most important ingredient in capitalism. If you are going to be successful in capitalism, you need capital. Okay? So this is going to matter later on. So bear that in mind. And then the last one that we talked about it a week or so ago, was laissez-faire. The idea that, an economy operates best when you're hands off, leave it be, no government intervention, no onerous regulations and things of that nature. Just it's a free and natural ecosystem. Just let the ecosystem run on its own. So you remember all those. You may have had to jog your memory a bit there. I understand it goes back a bit, but those are the first 4 principles of capitalism. But now we're going to talk about the 5th one. The 5th one is called the invisible hand. I mean, what? The invisible hand? Well, the good news is we're going to explain the invisible hand, and it's actually a really interesting idea. It's an interesting idea, and then it does 2 magic tricks. Hey, Som, how's it going? So let me explain the invisible hand, and then I'll show you the magic tricks that it does. Okay? So, first one. Well, if you read Leonard Read's iPencil, we're going to actually go through I Am Pencil. So let's go ahead and go through this. All right. Here's the idea. He says, I am simple, yet not a single person on the face of this earth knows how to make me. Okay, now that's a pretty provocative statement. No single person knows how to make a pencil. And you're like, it's not a complicated thing. I don't have a pencil here. I have a pen, but a pen is far more complicated than a pencil. How can someone say that no single person knows how to make a pencil? Well, he's going to make this case, and in so doing, explain the invisible hand. He says, my family tree begins with, well, a tree, okay? Now, contemplate all the saws and trucks and rope and the countless other gear used in harvesting and carting the cedar logs to the railroad siding. Okay, here's the idea. You can't even cut down a tree without the help of a lot of other people, okay? You cannot cut down a tree without saws, which requires metal and manufacturing expertise and shipping to get the saws to you. You cannot cut down a tree without food, because if you don't have the physical energy afforded you by food, then you can't cut down a tree, and you can't get food without, once again, distribution systems and farmers. You can't get food without tractors and harvesters. It goes on and on and on, okay? So you can't even cut down a tree, let alone make a pencil, without the combined cooperation of many, many, many other people. Now, he kind of beats this horse, so let's start beating the horse, and I'll show you what I mean. Think of all the persons and the numberless skills that went into their fabrication, the mining of ore, the making of steel, and its refinement into saws, axes, motors, and the growing of hemp and bringing it through all the stages to heavy, strong rope, the cookery and the raising of all the foods. Why, untold thousands of people had a hand in every cup of coffee loggers drink. And it's actually incredible if you look at what goes into making a cup of coffee. It involves like 19 countries and thousands of people just to bring a cup of coffee to life, all right? So, and we're just talking about cutting down the tree. The logs are shipped. Can you imagine the individuals who made flat cars and rails and railroad engines, and whose construct and install communications, incidental there too? Even the lighthouse keepers along the way assisted in my birth, the birth of the pencil. All these people are playing a part in making a pencil. Yes, and included are the men who poured the concrete for the dam of Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E. I grew up with PG&E. Hydro plant, which supplies the mill's power. Millions of human beings have had a hand in my creation, no one of whom knows more than very few of the others. Okay, now hold on. What he's saying is, all of these people are involved in making a pencil. None of them know how to make a pencil. In fact, they're not even aware that they are helping to make pencils. When the engineers build a dam for PG&E to, get dam power, right? Hydropower, they're not saying, imagine all the pencils we'll be able to make. No, they're just building a dam. And when somebody's laying railroad track, they're not thinking, oh, think of all the pencils we'll be able to ship. No, they're just laying railroad track. And yet, the value that they create contributes to making the pencil. It is impossible for me to name and explain all my antecedents, says the pencil. Does anyone wish to challenge my earlier assertion that no single person on the face of the earth knows how to make me? So that's the point of iPencil, is that when he says nobody knows how to make a pencil, well, no one person knows how to do all the things that we just said are necessary to make a pencil. Okay? Now, here's the first magic trick. The first magic trick of the invisible hand. I told you there were two. Here's the first one. Here is an astonishing fact. Neither the worker in the oil field, nor the chemist, nor the digger of the graphite or clay, or any who mans or makes the ships or trains or trucks, nor the one who runs the machines that does the knurling of my bit of metal, nor the president of the company performs his singular task because he wants me. Nobody's doing this because they want a pencil. They don't give a rat's patootie about pencils. Now, we'll get a light bulb if you pump in why they're doing all these things. Why are people doing this work if they don't want pencils? So pop that in the comments there. We'll get some light bulbs. I'll keep going here. Perhaps it is something like this. Each of these millions sees that he can thus exchange his tiny, tiny, tiny know-how for the goods and services he wants. And just as Anna says, it's money. We all work for money. That's all we work for. We work for money. And what we do is we take our tiny, tiny, teeny, tiny, this big piece of know-how, and we put it out into the marketplace. And somebody gives us money in return, right? And as Elisa says, they are getting gains from their work. And for most of us, those gains are monetary. Now, not always, right? Not all jobs are monetary, but for the most part, we're getting some sort of gain for it. But now, here's the thing. This know-how, this value we've created, we put out into the universe. And we don't know how that value is going to be used. All right? Bear that in mind for a moment. We're going to come back to it. You are creating value. People are giving you money for the value that you created. But then what they do with that value, you have no idea. I'll just give you a quick primer into where we're going to go with this. When I used to work for Intel Corporation, you know, they make the CPUs, the central processing units, the chips that go into computers. They used to have this little, internal communication promo thing, to encourage employees to do their work and so forth, that says, it's not what we make, it's what we make possible. So the idea is, we're not making chips. We are making possible cancer research. We are making possible improvements in global warming. We are making possible flights to Mars and so forth. So don't fixate on the fact that your work is making a chip. Think about what you are making possible. Kind of cool. We were also making possible porn on the dark web. We were also making possible the child sex trafficking online. They didn't include that in the internal communications. Here's the point. When you create something of value and put it out into the world, it's no longer yours. It's no longer up to you how somebody else uses it. Now, in this case, they're saying that they're using it to make pencils. But who knows? Let's keep going. Wrong button. Wrong button. There is a fact still more astonishing, and here's the first magic trick I've been alluding to. The absence of a mastermind, of anyone directing or forcibly directing these countless actions which bring me into being. No trace of such a person could be found. Instead, we find the invisible hand at work. Okay? Now, before I continue on there, Elisa says, I worked at a warehouse selling doorknobs, and their vision was that we were creating a house, a home. Yes. And that's fantastic. And I like that. By the way, I'm way into internal communication, and I'm way into motivating employees to give their very best and to feel a sense of purpose and meaning in their work. So I don't have enough thumbs to say thumbs up to that kind of messaging to employees. But you were also making doorknobs that could lock because something illegal was going on the other side. It's not up to you what those doorknobs can do. Okay? Now, here's the first magic trick. Nobody is directing this. I want you to just embrace the craziness of this. We have billions of people on the planet all working without central control. They're all doing their thing just because they're doing their thing. And yet, somehow or another, we are able to create some amazing, not just pencils, right? We create amazing things just because of the spontaneous, voluntary work of people who just want a paycheck. I just want a paycheck, man. And yet, we are able to bring all this work together without a central controlling body and perform miracles, all because people want a paycheck. That's the first. Did I ever move that one? I meant to move that one. Boom, there, right there. I forget I have that graphic. That's the first mind blower of the invisible hand. Okay? There's no central controlling body. It's invisible. The next, continuing on, I pencil in the configuration of creative human energies, millions of tiny know-hows, configuring naturally and spontaneously in response to human necessity and desire in the absence of any human mastermind. Just let people do what they want to do legally. Just let people do what they want to do, and things are going to be great. Okay? Let's see. Lisa goes on to say, I've never made the connection of economy and ecosystem. The invisible hand is like an ecosystem. That is a fantastic observation. I'm giving you 2 light bulbs for that one because, yes, that is the system. And it's not a centrally. Now, there are plenty of governments out there that try to do centrally controlled systems. The most extreme of which is communism and so forth, but different governments. And actually, in the second part of today's lecture, we're going to talk about ways that we here in the United States practice centrally controlled systems. But the invisible hand says things work best when you just let the invisible hand take care of things. Okay? All right. Now, here it says, this is an appeal for laissez-faire. Invisible hand works best when things are left alone. The lesson I have to teach is this: leave all creative energies uninhibited. Merely organize society to act in harmony with this lesson. Let society's legal apparatus remove all obstacles the best it can. Permit those creative know-hows freely to flow. We have faith that free men and women will respond to the invisible hand. So you don't need to force somebody to provide a service at a certain price. You just say, folks, Everyone do what you want to do that you think will bring about the greatest financial happiness for you. And great things are going to happen, whether intended or not, which is going to bring us to the second magic trick. Okay? But before, we're going to do a different question than this. Well, no, we'll do this one. So let me ask you, right now, we're engaging in commerce in a whole variety of ways. We're engaging in commerce. Are we making pencils, though? So let's do a 2-minute. I want you to answer the question of whether we are making pencils, and explain your response. So if you say, no, we're not making pencils, explain why you think that. Or if you say, yeah, we're contributing to making pencils, explain why you think that. Okay, so let's play with this for a couple of minutes. Okay, let's check this out. Are we making pencils right now? Let me make sure I got the right window here selected. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Okay, because we're going to get some light bulbs going here. So, let's see here. So Tyler says, yeah, and here, look, go ahead and first one. As students, we are creating a supply which leads to people making them, right? And yeah, in a way, we're creating pencils because we're creating a demand for pencils because students use pencils, and that creates the demand, which then leads to somebody else creating the supply. So in that way, we have a really direct connection with the creation of pencils, okay? Elisa says, yes, we are making pencils because we are the consumer of pencils. We don't use them, therefore making them. Yeah, same sort of principle, right? Very good. I like that. Anna says, we're not contributing to making pencils because at least my professor doesn't create, make, or gather anything. We may contribute to the consumption of pencils. However, yeah, as we've said, oh, hold on, that's not what I wanted to do. I gotta pop this back on out. Pop out chat. Here we go. Bear with me. Okay, so you're all correct. But we're missing the main point of the invisible hand. We're creating everything right now, including pencils. We are creating, here's the whole point. Remember, or this is the main message of the invisible hand. Every single person on the planet is contributing a teeny tiny piece of know-how. It's like they're contributing a drop to the ocean. And what the world does with this ocean is up to the world. Parts of it will be taken off to make lakes. Other parts will go off to make clouds. Other parts will go off to make resorts. You know, I'm kind of pressing the analogy. But the point is, those drops of water all contributed to everything. So we really don't know how the value we create is going to be used. That's not up to us. That's up to the invisible hand. So let me give you a simple thing right now, just a simple example. You're paying me. All right, you're paying me through tuition. The taxpayers are paying me through taxes. But let's just say you, we got Anna, Elisa, Tyler, right? You're paying me. You have no idea what I'm going to do with that money. You have no idea. And so let's say that I purchase something that's pretty weird and out there, a service, a product, or something like that. You contributed to it. You have no idea what it is. It's never occurred to you. You've never thought about it. You don't care. But every single time you pay money out into the world, you are enabling somebody else to do something with that money. And what they do, you don't know or care about. So, yeah, we are making pencils. We're also making porn on the dark web. We are also making guns. We are also making cool rocket ships and satellites. And we're making solar panels right now. We're drilling for oil right now. This is what we are doing with our teeny little bit of know-how. Okay, now that's the first magic trick of and this we just went off. But here's the second magic trick of the invisible hand. Now, Adam Smith is actually the father of the invisible hand. He's the one who came up with the idea of the invisible hand. He's going to express the second magic trick. Now, I'm going to read each section. These are from the readings, of course. After I read it, I'll translate it because we're talking about a 19th century Scottish philosopher here. As every individual, therefore, endeavors as much as he can both to employ his capital in the support of domestic industry and so to direct that industry that it produce may be of the greatest value, every individual necessarily labors to render the annual revenue of society as great as he can. The hell? Okay, it's pretty simple. He says, listen, you've got resources. You've got time, money, energy, facilities, tools. These are your resources. You are going to use your resources as profitably as you can. You want as positive of a return on investment of your resources as you can. Think about just working for X dollars an hour. Let's say that you have a job that pays $15 an hour and somebody offers you a job at more or less the same sort of company, same sort of culture, everything else is pretty much the same, but instead of $15 an hour, you're going to work for $20 an hour. Well, you're probably going to take that job because that gives you a greater return for every hour invested. All right, you invest an hour, you get $15. I invest an hour over here, I get $20. That's a better ROI, return on investment of my time. Same thing goes with your money. Same thing goes with your resources, your tools, all that. So Adam Smith says it's perfectly normal and reasonable and to be expected that you're going to try to get as much bang for your buck as you can. Okay? All right, next point. He generally, indeed, neither intends to promote the public interest nor knows how much he is promoting it. By preferring the support of domestic to that of foreign industry, he intends only his own security, and by directing that industry in such a manner as it produce may be of greatest value, he intends only his own gain. All right, let me put that in English. Hey, by the way, when you're off trying to make things work best for you and get a positive ROI on your investment of your time and money and resources and get the best bang for your buck and get the most money per hour that you can and so forth, you're just looking out for you. There's nothing wrong with that. All right? You're looking out for yourself and for your family and for your immediate interests. All right. So I work. Why do I work? Because I want to take care of myself, my wife, and my family where I can. This is why I work. All right. I breathe. Why do I breathe? Because I want to stay alive. You selfish son of a bitch. What do you mean you breathe because you want to stay alive? How selfish are you? Do you realize that other people could use that air? No, there's nothing selfish about meeting our needs. I have a need for food, water, shelter, relationships, self-esteem, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I have a need for money. I have a need for security. I have a need for all of these things. There's nothing selfish in going after this need. And so I'm not intending to help others as I go about meeting my needs. I am not intending to. However, and here's the end of the magic trick, and he is in this, as in many other cases, led by an invisible hand which promotes an end which was in no part his intention, nor is it always the worse for society that it be no part of it. For pursuing his own interests, he frequently promotes that of society more efficiently, when he really intends to promote it. Okay, here's the point, okay? Here's the point of this. When you are working to meet your own needs, your selfish best interest, you're helping society. Even if it's not your intent, even if you have no intent to help society, so sad, too bad. You work and you contribute and you meet your needs. You are going to help society. Okay? In other words, as we pursue our own economic self-interest, we inevitably benefit others, even if it was in no way our intent. All right? So now let me give you an example. All right? I'm teaching. That's me. I know. I'm hella good looking, so seeing two of me at once, I get it. That's a little overwhelming, but, bear with me. I teach. Why do I teach? Because I need money. Now, I really, really, really like teaching. I like teaching. I enjoy it. I get a great deal of fulfillment and satisfaction of it. I feel like I'm contributing my skills to something that has worth and meaning to the lives of individuals as well as the community. I feel like I have good skills in this area, and I feel like it affords me the sort of lifestyle, mostly autonomy and flexibility, that I really enjoy. But notice my whole spiel there was I, me. All the reasons I gave you why I teach are all about me. You're in school. Why are you in school? Because you want a better life, you want more financial security and stability, you want more opportunities. You want both financial and life opportunities, and you understand that by getting an education, you move the odds over to your side in terms of attaining these things. You want to live a certain lifestyle. You want to bring up perhaps you want to bring up a family in a certain given lifestyle. You want to learn, you want to grow, you want to feel like you've accomplished something significant. You want to prove to yourself and others that you have all this, right? And for the money, as Tyler says, right? That's all what it's for. Notice you selfish little people, you. But it's not. Because check this out. I'm here now. I'm saying all this in extremes to make a point. You understand this, right? I'm here for me, but I benefit you. You're here for you, but you benefit me. It has never, ever, ever, ever entered your mind. You know what? I really want to make sure that the faculty at Salt Lake Community College have full classes and are paid well and have contributed. So I'm going to take a lot of classes at Slick so that I can make sure that the faculty are getting good, engaged students and getting paid. You've never thought that, ever. And yet, that's what you're doing. It's not your intent to support faculty, but you're doing it anyway because you are pursuing your own self-interest. Okay, that's the second magic trick. But now, I want to test this magic trick. This works for everyone. So, I want you to spend 2 minutes. Okay. Oh, hold on. This one's gonna. I love this. Wow, we are such great people. You know, I'm gonna give that one 2 points too. But isn't that cool, guys? What's this? I may be greater, but the next person is greater than me. I love it. This is what's really kind of mind-blowing about the invisible hand. We're contributing to each other in ways that we don't know, and frankly, we've never thought about, and frankly, you probably don't care about. And yet, our work is creating it. Now, here's where we're going to test it. Folks, I want you to come to center, right? Stop looking at the other monitor for a moment and listen to this question. This is not going to be an easy one, but it'll be interesting. A car thief. A car thief is acting, and I'm going to say in his own selfish interests. A car thief is stealing a car for his own selfish best interest. And yet, this creates all kinds of positive value for society. I want you to list the positive economic outcomes that result from a car thief stealing a car. Okay? So let's play with that one and see what we can come up with. Okay, let's play with some of these. So here we go. Lisa says the thief perhaps will be better off if they can use the car for their advantage, but somebody's car is stolen, they will probably call the police, and that gives the police job security. Okay, this is the first one, right? A police force. You and I benefit in incredible ways from security in our community. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say the police are always wonderful saints and so on and so forth. That's not the discussion for today. The point is, though, you'd be surprised how little you think about safety when you're out and about. It's in the back of your mind, especially certain demographics and so forth. You need to kind of think about these things. So you think about where you are and what time of day it is. And if you're alone, you do think about these things, but you don't think about them anywhere near as much as you would if you were in a place with no police force, with low security. Okay. So the police have job security because of criminals. Let's see. Anna says, car thief can either now drive or sell the car to someone to drive away. Having the car also means that they're able to get to work on time, and there are possible okay. So now in selling the car, what the thief will often do is sell the car for parts. Okay. Now, just because this is black market and fences doesn't mean that that doesn't create an economic value. All right. So I like it. Let's see. Lisa, they most likely have car insurance. So that allows the person to buy another car, adding to the economy. Insurance alone is an incredible industry, and frankly, an industry that makes more money than you and I could ever count. So criminal activity creates an industry that employs tens of thousands of people and creates billions of dollars in wealth and provides us an affordable option in terms of making ourselves whole when something happens. Insurance is pretty darned important. Advancement in anti-theft technology, because law, this is Tyler again, spending, community awareness improves. Yes, there's tons of research and development and entrepreneurs out there who are always creating new anti-theft technology, key fobs, or things of that nature, right? Alarms, or being able to track the car, or even turn it off when it's been stolen. These are innovations and companies that would not exist without the car thief. Tyler goes on, supply, and let's hit our next one here. All right. Improve supply chain for auto parts. Yeah. Zamar said, I would say that all the actions that the other person does to try to get a car back are positive outcomes, such as insurance, car dealers, law enforcement. So new cars are going to be sold. Or let's say that in the case of my in-laws, their car was stolen, but they got it back in relatively short order because of some of the innovations that Tyler had, but it needed work done. So this created work for the mechanics to make the car whole. They had to fix this, they had to replace that, and so on and so forth. And so mechanics get a lot of money because of car theft. Now, guys, you nailed this one. And that's the weird thing about the invisible hand. Now, I'm not saying drop out of school and go start a life of crime, because you're ultimately helping society and you'll win a, Nobel Peace Prize for it. I'm not saying that. The point is, the invisible hand has this funky, weird ability to convert bad value crime into positive outcomes, but it can also convert positive inputs, such as teaching, into crime. How to do crime better, right? I mean, there's a whole thing about Harvard and ethics, and they're pointing out that a lot of these CEOs who end up going to jail and so forth all come out of Harvard. And so there's this kind of, I'm not saying Harvard teaches or anything, but a lot of business professors and so on and so forth point out that, we're teaching them principles that, well, you can apply either way. I can teach you a business principle that when applied properly and ethically and legally can create wealth. I'm also teaching you that same business principle that when applied improperly, unethically, and illegally creates much more wealth. The invisible hand almost doesn't care. So, all right. Where's my buttons? There's my buttons. All right, so now, folks, that is the invisible hand. All right, as we pursue our own economic self-interests, we inevitably benefit others, even if this was in no way our intent. Okay? Now, what we've just done, and we need to go through the second part pretty quick, we've just kind of gone over capitalism, right? All the 5 elements of capitalism there. But now, you know what? We don't practice pure capitalism, all right? And nobody does, by the way. Nobody. Everybody practices some form of a mixed economy. So the question is not, do we practice capitalism or socialism or anything like that? We have socialist aspects. The question becomes, why do we practice socialism in these particular instances? That's the word I'm looking for. And to what effect? Okay? So let's do a 2-minute. I want you to list things that are socialist in nature that we practice. In other words, cases where the government taxes the people and then reallocates that tax revenue to causes that the government feels are in the best interest of society. Okay? So government is taxing individuals and applying it to societal needs. That's, in essence, socialism. Okay? Focusing on society. So give me some examples over the next 2 minutes of where we practice this simple form of socialism. Okay. Let's play with this. First of all, we have Lisa. Now, you mentioned tariffs. I think an argument could be made for tariffs, but it would be a pretty convoluted argument. Social Security, on the other hand, is not a convoluted argument. So the idea with, and I don't know if I pushed a light bulb, but I'm going to push another one anyway. The idea with Social Security is, now we all pay into Social Security. So in a way, it's a forced savings account. And so when we retire, we get that Social Security back and so forth. But that's not really the way it works. So we pay Social Security, our employers pay part of Social Security, and then taxpayers support it and so forth. And then it's only paid out to you according to your needs. So if you retire with a really nice 401k and a pension or whatever, and probably not a pension, those are almost mythical now, but if you retire really well off, you're not going to get much in Social Security, even though you paid tons into it. On the other hand, somebody who's retiring rather, well, poor, even if they didn't pay much Social Security, they're going to get a lot out of it. So this is an example of kind of the flavor and tang of socialism. Okay. We also have Tyler who says Social Security. Okay. Guys, K through 12 education. All right. Kindergarten through 12th grade was all paid for by property taxes. That is the government taxing people with property, taking that money and reallocating it to support education. 70%, I've said 60 in the past, but I found out Friday last week from the president of the college that it's 70% of your tuition at Salt Lake Community College is paid for by the taxpayer. This is socialism. You are currently, right now, at this moment, engaged in a socialist activity. Ooh, will your uncle let you visit ever again, right? Roads, infrastructure, water, electricity. You pay for these things, but you don't pay nearly as much as they're worth because these are supported by the government. Parks and libraries and knowledge and so forth. The cost of food. I know eggs are insanely expensive, but you'd be surprised how much food would cost without agricultural subsidies. And oil is expensive, so gas is expensive. Not nearly as expensive as it would be without subsidies, okay? So we have more coming on in here. Zamara says, I would say things that help the community, such as building a playground for the kids. Yes. Having free lunch program. Yes. Building better sidewalks. Yes. Education. All these things are governments taxing the individual to provide a service for the good of the community. Socialism. All right. Public transportation. Yes. Okay. All right. So, as I say, the question is not, do we practice it? The question becomes, oh, by the way, COVID stimulus, right? Yeah. And not that was a huge example. Totally. I would even go so far to say, COVID vaccines and so forth. Guys, you're students at Salt Lake Community College. If you need a flu vaccine or if you need a COVID vaccine or a booster or anything, just head over to the health office and you can get it for free. You're welcome. Taxpayers did that for you. Okay, so Elisa says, Elisa says, by the way, I have a sister who, not a sister, I have a niece who spells her name the exact same way and it's pronounced differently. So that's why I've got this weird fixation block in my head. How do you balance them? Oh, that's an easy answer, right? That is the ever conundrum. All the left and right of politics and so forth are constantly looking at what is the right balance between free market, laissez-faire, let the invisible hand do it, which works, versus no, this is something that should be provided by the government and supported for all the people, which works, each in their own way at the different circumstance. So in terms of balancing, and by the way, that's a light bulb too. We got another one. Oh my gosh, you people, you're on fire today. Here's what Potter says, and I know we're short on time, so we're going to fire through this pretty quick. He says, and I'll read it, but then I'll basically give you the translation. The fact that the masters of capital have never been really in really full control means that they have never been able to set the goals for the American economy. Instead, and this is a second major economic corollary to the Democratic commitment, whatever, the goals of the economy have been set by the democratic philosophy rather than the theory of capitalism. Okay, normally we would do 2 minutes and we would talk through this, but we're short on time, so I'm going to talk you through this real quick. The theory of capitalism says, hey, survival of the fittest, laissez-faire. You either thrive and survive or you die. This is a natural ecosystem. And some people are born to greatness, other people are born to be the subservient. And if you can't make it, that's too bad. That's pure, unadulterated capitalism, right? Amoral. It's just the way it is. Democratic philosophy doesn't like this idea at all. Democratic philosophy believes in the dignity of all people, the dignity of the individual, that everybody should have the opportunity to thrive, and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we need, the job of a society is to create an environment in which everybody has the ability to succeed or fail, okay? It's not decided by some cold, amoral, heartless economic system, but by us working together, employing the invisible hand to raise everybody up. That's the democratic philosophy. So, according to Potter, where do we see socialism then expressed in this way? Well, first of all, he says, we really don't care that much about efficiency. I'm not going to read this. I'll just explain through it. He says, listen, the capitalists are always banging on and on about efficiency, getting greater output than input and so forth, and return on investment. And he says, no, we really actually don't care that much. In fact, we are willing to prop up inefficient industries if it benefits society as a whole. Now, we, the U.S., we prop up all kinds of industries, many. It just so happens that the example he gives here is agriculture, okay? So, for example, the gray bars are how much farms created in wealth, in other words, what they sold their crops for. The red is how much they got in subsidies, how much the U.S. government paid them on top of how much they made, right? Now, I'm not going to break it down year for year and so on and so forth, and it only goes up to, the pandemic, and you see in the pandemic, we helped them quite a bit. The point is this. Why would we help agriculture like this? If a farm isn't being efficient and have a positive ROI and effective and efficient in what it's doing, why are we propping it up? Because you know what? We need food. Furthermore, food should be available to everyone. And so here's the first thing. In order for you to be economically awesome, there are some bare minimum needs you need to have met. You need food, water, shelter. We're going to come back to shelter, security, power, and connectivity has become part of this. In other words, you guys don't wake up each day, for the most part. I don't want to be cavalier. All right. I don't know your individual circumstance. I want to call that out. But I will say, excuse me, to make a point. You don't wake up each day and go, I wonder where I'm going to find food today. You don't wake up and say, do I have enough energy? Can I plug in my computer? You don't say, should I turn on the water? Can I afford to turn on the water? You don't even really think about where you're getting connectivity for your systems, for your devices, and so forth. That's because we've pretty much subsidized the hell out of these things, and they're so affordable that you don't even really think about it anymore. Now, true, you can spend a lot of money on food and so on and so forth, but you can also spend very little, right? You can meet some bare minimum nutritional needs, because of subsidies. The idea that the American government has decided is that we don't want you spending your time, energy, and focus on figuring out where you're going to get lunch for your kids, as one of you pointed out, right? Can't see who it was right off. I don't want you to worry about feeding your kids. I want you to worry about creating economic value and opportunity for your kids. So we're going to feed your kids. Don't worry. We'll feed your kids. You get to work, and we're going to feed them, educate them, take care of them, all on the government's dime, because this is what's going to create future economic value. All right. That's the first thing that, David Potter posits for us. He also says that, and again, I'm not going to read through this. We got to read through it. We got to keep going. Economic opportunity for everyone and access to wealth for everyone is absolutely mandatory. Remember, it's called capitalism because the most important ingredient is capital. So for you to be successful, Tyler, Elisa, and Zamara, and Anna, for you to be successful, you need access to capital or the things that capital would afford you, right? So let's say an education. You need an education. That's expensive. That takes a lot of capital. Education takes an awful lot of capital. Don't worry, we've got you covered. First of all, your tuition is going to be really affordable because it's paid for 70% by taxpayers. Second of all, you can get all kinds of financial help. Just go to the school, go to the financial office, and they're going to hook you up. We've also got Pell Grants for you if you're eligible for those. And furthermore, we give employers tax incentives to offer tuition reimbursement programs or education assistance programs. So truth is, you can probably get your slick education anyway for pretty close to free if you leverage all of these sources of income. So that's you having access to capital, or at least the things that capital would provide you. Okay? Just one small example, but a germane one, right? One of these is goal of, belief in dignity and worth of men. Yes, so opportunities for everyone. Now, here's the one that's really struggling these days. He also says The economic system should be set up such that each generation does better than the previous generation. This is a very American idea that each generation does better. And for the most part, we've successfully accomplished this generation after generation. I worry about this generation. I don't know that we have successfully set up an economic system that sufficiently provides opportunity for the younger generation to kick our ass. This one, I really am concerned about, particularly around housing. You said it at the very moment that I was about to say it. Oh gosh, wrong one. It's housing. Housing concerns me the most, by far. Food is food. We all, all this sort of stuff. Education we can make affordable. I know it's not very affordable, but like I said, through the things that I just talked about, it can become a little bit more so. Housing freaks me out for you guys. All right. Now, this one I'm just going to read, but we're not going to go into this because we're going to go into this in greater depth in a future lecture in about 2 or 3 weeks. So here's a primer. Perhaps the most convincing proof of the extent to which American standard has soared above the physical necessities is not statistical at all, but lies in the fact that Americans no longer buy most of their purchases in response to actual physical need. Need has been transcended as an economic stimulus, and goods are bought for comfort, convenience, recreation, style, or prestige. My friend, my wife, and I have been doing a little shopping over the weekend and yesterday and so on and so forth. And like I said, we're preparing for a tiny little trip, only like a couple of days. But we've been doing some shopping, and it has been for comfort, convenience, recreation, style, and prestige. And yeah, sure, we buy eggs, but the real shopping is this sort of stuff. So we're going to talk more about that in a future lecture. So I'm just leaving that here to play with. And folks, here it is. You've done fantastic. That wraps it up. And oh my gosh, with only 5 minutes to spare, we don't normally go that long, but we covered an awful lot. And your contributions, check this out, have been stupendous. So for those of you who contributed, I'm just going to go ahead and take that on up to 15. And yeah, woohoo! We'll just make that happen right off the bat. All right. As always, I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes if you have any questions or comments or anything like that. Otherwise, have a great week, and we'll see. Yeah, Tyler, right? This is rocks. And we'll see you again, excuse me, perhaps tonight during the work shift, or if not, in like 2 weeks, because next week is spring break. All right? So have a good one. Go off and make some trouble, and we'll see you again soon. Yeah, we like the celebrations, don't we? We'll see you, Anna. We'll see you later, Tyler, hopefully tonight. All right, well, I don't, excuse me, I don't see any comments or anything, and I think people are dropping off. So, yeah, Zamara, you're welcome. We'll go ahead and end here, and we'll see you later. Have a good one.